Hello everyone. It seems that the video from a couple of days ago explaining Ralph Wiggum from fundamentals and taking a really educational approach landed really well and people really liked it. So maybe this becomes an ongoing thing. There's so much in my mind, there's so much writing I need to do. I'm a year in playing with these tools and playing with Ralph, and sometimes the best way to really learn something is be able to communicate it clearly. So let's try communicating something really clearly here. We are going to go into the realm of agents.md. We're going to go into the history of agents.md, how it came to be. We're going to look into the problems of agents.md. There are problems of agents.md. We're going to look at allocations and malloc again, because it's really important that we think about context windows as a Commodore 64 with a small amount of memory. Really important. And then we're going to go have a look to see what makes a good one. I'm going to show you the one that I use in Loom. So let's go from the top. How did agents.md come into existence? The story started with essentially it was all the different coding tools out there in the world. They were going for all these different things. So there was like there was Jules MD, there was like Claude MD, like, we're just getting littered. The repos are just getting littered. And I was just getting really pissed off with it, to be frank. And SourceGraph purchased the domain agent.md because they were also annoyed with this. I put together an informal kind of like meme RFC that really popped off online saying, hey, look, we've got to stop littering our repos. It's trash, it's garbage. Let's not do this. This is stupid. It's just a text file that gets mallocked to the array. It's just a text file. So I put together this RFC and it pops off a Y Combinator and all the rest. And the response was really warm. But the problem is OpenAI and Google had standardized on agents, not agent.md. Agents.md was being parked by a domain parker. If I remember correctly, it was going to a porn site. So if you type agents.md into Slack, you got porn. Obviously, this is no good. So that's why we lent heavily into the idea of standardizing the industry on agent.md, because at least it was neutral and it wasn't like putting offensive content into Slack. I forget the details. It's like 8 months ago, which is like forever in AI land. Anyway, so that pops off. That pops off really hard. And a little bit of backwards and forwards trying to purchase the agents.md domain. Whoever held it just kept on jacking the price. And it became impossible to actually get it and secure it because the idea was to standardize the industry on a singular file name at least. We thought the hope was all lost. Then OpenAI opened up their money bags. Thank you very much, OpenAI. And they purchased agents.md, which is lovely. So that aligned, we've got two big heavy hitters. We've got OpenAI and Google using agents. And here I am with this kind of meme RFC that was popping off saying that, hey, let's just standardize an agent. So we took the L. We took the L. We redirected agent.md to agents.md, provided instructions for people how to do symlinks, to basically symlink claude.md to agent.md to claude.md, vice versa. And just with symlinks, it was enough to do some migration. So that was great. I guess if I look back, I much prefer agent.md than agents.md. But I guess that's history now. But it's not without its problems. It's not without its problems. Perhaps it's too soon to standardize on a singular file name. Perhaps it's too soon to standardize a singular file name. What I would have loved to have seen is a file name per model. So think of .agent slash, and then there's a model .md, like the model name .md. There's a reason for this. all your cursor rules and all your agents.md and claude.md are slowly getting encodified for a particular LLM model. And the behavior and how these models react to human language is very different, incredibly different. So it creates a lot of noise when people like switch to the latest every couple of days. When the latest comes out, they go, "Oh, it's amazing! Oh, it's crap." Well, it's probably your agents.md or your cursor rules causing chaos and creating noise in the community. I'll expand. I will expand. When when GPT-5 came out, I remember just sitting down there with the boys in San Fran. We're like, we couldn't really explain it. We couldn't really explain it. For some reason, GPT-5 was like my description. We start anamorphizing these model behaviors. My description, it was like low testosterone. It just didn't make sense. It seemed like unconfident. And I got quickly told I'm in San Fran now, not Australia, Jeff. And in San Fran, we call it timid. So, yes, we had consensus that it was timid. And then we went around to different competitors because we're all like call it kind of mates trying to figure these models out, no matter what the lines of companies are. It's a very small community of people who actually are model whisperers in the harness community. And they also agreed the model was timid and we couldn't figure out why. So let's connect the story. I've had this on the screen for a little bit. Have a look right here. GPT-5 for coding, the model says do not use firm language. With other models, you might have used firm language like yelling, be thorough when gathering information. And I guess this uppercase is all through your like cursor rules, all through your agents.md, claude.md, whatever. This tonality causes GPT-5 to become timid, or it changes its behavior. So here we have a model by OpenAI that says don't yell at it. Meanwhile, Anthropic's models are saying yell at it. And now, can you see the issue of having a single agents MD? Maybe we needed per model agents MD. Maybe it's not too late to actually undo this, but maybe it is too late. But maybe the boys get together and we fix this stuff. All right, so we're on to the next part, folks. We're on to the next part of the chapter. We've done the history, we've done the problems. Now we talk about allocations. A way a coding agent works or a coding harness works is brutally simple. Brutally simple. You have an array, and the first entry into that array, position 0, is essentially the harness prompt, which is like for cursor, it's their prompt. For Claude Code, it's theirs, etc. And pretty much almost guaranteed the next slot after that is the harnesses automatically inject the agents.md or claude.md. So that's typically slot 1. And that's always allocated. That's always allocated. Unless there's a compaction event, and compaction is evil. See my previous video about why Ralph Wiggum is more of an approach and a thinking type thing. Let's get out of that pit hole. So it's something that's allocated all the time. So what makes a good agent MD is around about 70 lines of code or 70 lines of like text. I've seen way too many agents.md out there in the wild, and like all this gets tokenized. You should go to the OpenAI tokenizer and have a look at how many tokens your agents.md is. Because if it's constantly allocated when you open the agent and it's massive, it's huge, the end result is you've got less room to actually do work and increases your likelihood of operating in the dumb zone. That's everything what Ralph Wiggum, the technique, and the bash loop is about minimizing context rot or time in the dumb zone. So you want to have your agents MD super, super tiny, folks, like tiny, just enough. And you might be thinking, what is just enough? Um, we'll get there, but look at your agents MD or Claude MD, thoroughly like clean it out, clean it out. It doesn't matter if you delete it. You can regenerate it by a series of prompts to regenerate it, etc. What will happen in most code bases is people PR or update the agent's MD or Claude MD, and the end result is it becomes this hidden, like forgotten knowledge. Why was that added in there? So what happens is it just keeps growing, just keeps growing in teams and in projects. So don't be afraid to get like the harvester out and just lop it off. Just go mow it. Get the lawnmower out, just mow it, destroy it, and create it again. And approach it from a first principles point of view. So let's have a look at Loom's Agent MD. Now, I'm doing this live and I haven't actually even prepped for this. So let's have a look. Okay, the first thing first. I typically, like honestly, if I'm looking at this, because I'd code generate this, I would delete the specifications completely. Because when I'm routing, I essentially malloc those specifications myself. I want high control of that mallocing. Here I have essentially two different ways to build the application. One for the Rust, one for the web. I don't like this, to be honest. Like, I haven't actually cleaned this up. Like, I don't want it actually to do cargo builds. I want it to use Nix builds, because if it does Nix builds, I get binary-based caching. So when I deploy, it's just instant deploy. So I'm just going to clean that out. Here is a cargo to Nix workflow. Maybe I'll keep it. I put this in here because I saw Ralph failing. This is a sign. But maybe the correct thing to do is to actually get rid of this allocation. And instead, when Ralph finishes, you kick off another Ralph with just this prompt mallet. This is where you get into essentially recursive loops on loops on loops. You want to really minimize your allocations that you do. Honestly, this is actually a bit of a dumpster fire. I'm actually kind of embarrassed. This is what happened. So let's pull up agents.md. Cool. If we look here, normally all you really want to have in agents.md is just enough information on how to run the tests, how to build the agent, where maybe a little bit of a layout, but most coding agents do a layout as such for the agents.md. Make, test, etc., etc. It's just really enough. Probably the most succinct way I can define what is enough and what is not, because I haven't been as concrete. It's just enough to run Ralph in a loop. If you feel that you have to intervene because you see the bash tool failing when it's trying to do tests, well, that means your agent MD needs updating. When you see a tool call, like it's failing, that's a sign that you need to tune the guitar. You actually need to tune it. It just needs to be just enough. But it doesn't have, it shouldn't be necessarily completely concrete. Let me get into this. Let's just do it live. Let's just do it live, folks. Let's just do it live. To build, you have access to sudo on this computer. So let's go to check web server, use journal D. Diagnose. Okay, stage is set. Stage is set. A lot of people treat the LLMs as if they're GPT-3. They're not. They're really not. They're incredibly smart. It's freaking brilliant. What you need to do instead is just do just enough to create, tickle the latent space and create a behavior or make a call to do a behavior, but not be too hyper specific. I'll get into that now. Let's assume this is like a build, test, loop, whatever, but I'm just going to use this as a raw example for check the web server. Notice that I don't mention that if I use Nginx or Caddy here. I just said, look, if you want to check the web server, you should look at journal D. So I'm saying straight up, you should look at journal D for information what it is. The latent space knows that journal D is related to system D. So within a FIO, it should actually use system control to check the status of the server. Then it will do journal D. I don't know. We're about to find out. And this is what I mean. You've got to play with these things, and these are very less is more, just enough to get the latent behavior, but not anything more. Cool. Let's try this. Claude. Let's bring it into Claude. Let's give me my Claude. Check the web server. Let's see what it does. Let's see what the latent space does. What do you know? It went for system control. I didn't mention system control. I mentioned journal control. It's within the realms of the same latent space. And it's used sudo because I've told it to check the web server, you should check it on the local machine. It's on local machine. See how I was able to pull out that latent behavior? See how I was able to pull out that latent behavior? What if we restart this session? Restart it. Check the Nginx web server. Now this is interesting. I don't actually know. Let's do Caddy web server because I've got Nginx on this machine. Check the Caddy web server. So all of a sudden, it's going to immediately go for Caddy because I've done system control, or I said journal control. So journal control has triggered the latent space for system control. And it's from there, because I specified the argument, essentially almost an argument of Caddy, it immediately goes to system control Caddy and it fails as we expect it to because I use Nginx. And then you have a look here and it's go for journal control and it goes, well, it's not there. So it starts hill climbing. Like it starts searching and discovering. It's got all these behaviors. Start thinking of things along the lines of like cache hits and cache misses. When you see this type of behavior, it's a sign that something needs tuning in your prompts. Consider that each one of these things is a cache miss. In this case, it's not a cache miss because I've just provided incorrect information. But if it was doing this for Nginx, well, you need to tune your prompts. But everyone wants clarity of like, what is the right prompt? There is no really right prompt. You just got to pick up the guitar and play with it. You got to find what the right thing is. And so for each one of your concerns in your application, you got to do this little bit of a dance. You got to do this little bit of a dance and figure out what the right thing is for building your application, for testing your application, for linting and formatting, about 70 lines. You can do more. You can do more. I do more. But it comes with the trade-off. I know that I'm risking going into the dumb zone. So with that, that's pretty much it. But I want to leave you with one thing. Extra. Let's go into Loom. This one here. Deployments happen automatically via git push to the trunk branch. The production service runs NixOS with auto update enabled. The update service runs every 10 seconds. Check for new commits and rebuilds if need be. This is kind of cool. I don't necessarily need to have this deterministically malloc to the array, but I use it so often and I always want it to be there. I want to pin this here. But this could be like a skill. Like, skills are just literally just markdown files that are lazily loaded. They're just lazily loaded CSS or images or like, that's the wrong thing. They're just lazily loaded strings. So the thing, the idea of lazy loading. Um, and this type of thinking, this little bit of abstraction allows me to just go, yo, is my server deployed? If so, moo. And I actually put a bit of effort on this one for tuning it because I would like continually, I'd be running Ralph loops and it auto deploys into production for Loom. And what I want to do, or how I drive it for Loom, because there's no code review, is uh, it deploys automatically. And then I give a little prompt, check if it's deployed, and then look at the logs. So here it's like, check if it's deployed. I'm not being hyper specific as such on how the deployment all works, etc. in this prompt, because there's something pinning that latent behavior because I've observed and I've tuned that latent behavior to happen. So now I can like start thinking in higher and higher levels of abstraction to drive these types of behaviors. So I go, give me errors from server, from Loom server. This should, and it does, go for journal control. Cool. It's really that simple, folks. There is no real right way or wrong way. If you're just getting all these random things from GitHub, hoping that it is the magic thing. No, the magic thing is the discoveries you find by tuning the guitar. Until next time.